No.
Hello, I am Commissioner Gordon. What is your name?
My name is Herman Webster Mudgett.
And where were you born, Mr. Mudgett?
New Hampshire,
When?
May 16th, 1860.
Are you going to cooperate with me today?
No.
Are you thirsty, Mr. Holmes?
Yes. I'm very thirsty.
Would you like some water?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Are you going to cooperate now?
Yes, sir.
Alright. What was your childhood like, Mr. Holmes?
It was terrible. I lived in a bad house, bad family. My dad was an alcoholic. I got bullied every day. Came home to a mom that was a religious freak. Told me to study the Bible every day. It was not how a child should grow up. And it was bad. I didn't get to see my dad much. He was always gone. That's it.
Alright. And where did you go to college?
I went to the University of Michigan, but I couldn't pay for it by myself. So I thought of a clever plan. I was going to marry one of the richest girls in my city, town, and I asked her family to pay for my college. And so they did. Very nice, very, very nice. And they paid for my college. Otherwise, I would have never gone to college.
What did you study at the university?
Mainly medicine and biology, and some math, but I was really intrigued with how the body worked and how the brain and the heart work together, and just life in general. In fact, when I was a little kid, since my family wasn't really there with me, I was alone a lot of times, so I was interested in animals too, and how they all worked. And I would dissect them, and I would try to teach myself about how all the livers and the stomach and the heart just work together to create life. I thought it was just amazing.
Do you know what got you interested in biology?
Well, I think there was just one point in my life when I was younger. I got pressured, well, not pressured, I was actually bullied into touching a skeleton. And then when I touched it, I was just more interested in it. I just realized how amazing the body was. And I just got a drive, and I wanted to learn about it. And I really think that was just my turning point of when I wanted to study medicine and the body.
When did you graduate?
I graduated in 1884 at the age of 24, and at that time I was married to Clara Lovingat, and she's the one that her family paid for my college. But then I decided to divorce her. I didn't need her anymore, so I just divorced her and went on my own ways.
Okay, and when did you move to Chicago?
I moved to Chicago in 1886.
What about those 2 years in between university and Chicago?
Well, I was broke. I had no money, I had no home. Um, I didn't know what to do, so I was desperate. And so I started um, grave robbing. And I would take the bodies and I would sell them to one of my people. I can't say his name. And then he would give me money for that, and that's all I did. Try to survive.
What made you think of doing that, and why?
Well, at the University of Michigan, I was studying medicine and biology, and they had dissections in labs that they would perform them in. And I noticed that they were running low on bodies, and I noticed the way that the bodies were treated was people would drive them in trucks. And I guess just being around the bodies, I noticed that I could make money off of it. And I really just lost the sight of humanity. And I just saw the body as a product instead of as a dead human being. And so I figured, why not, steal people's graves and sell the bodies? I was desperate. That's the only thing I could think of.
And what was your first job when you finally got to Chicago?
When I got to Chicago, I was hired by a drugstore, and I was a chemist there. I would I was also a clerk there, hand out their medicine to them.
Where did you get the money to move to Chicago?
Some of my money came from the grave robbing, but most of it came from life insurance. So I had a clever plan, and what I did was I bought life insurance for $20,000, and then I faked my own death. And how I did that was by getting my best friend, who looked just like me. He's from college. I knew him back in the University of Michigan. I got him out in the open where he didn't know what was going on. He thought we were just meeting, where we met a lot. And so then I killed him, and I suffocated him with chloroform. And after that, I dragged his body in the middle of the highway or street, and then I left and I hid, and somebody called it in, and I put all my birth certificate in there, all my information that it suggested it was me, and the police knew that I had life insurance, so they sent me $20,000, and I went to my house and I picked it up, and I got my $20,000, and then I headed to Chicago.
What was your first job when you finally got to Chicago?
When I got to Chicago, I was lucky enough to find a drugstore that had an open for hire sign, and I got hired as a chemist there and as a clerk, and very good at what I did. And eventually, after working there a couple months, I asked the woman who owned it if I could buy it, and I persuaded her, if you know what I mean, to let me buy the store. But I didn't have the money back then, so once again I persuaded her that I asked her, if I could pay her monthly. So I paid her monthly, and I pretty much owned the store. But things were going well then. I was, starting to make profit. She got very angry. I didn't pay some of my monthly bills, and she was going to call the cops. And now I couldn't have that. After knowing that I killed my best friend, I didn't want any traces. So I killed her. And now, a lot of people got suspicious because the regulars that went into the drugstore asked her where she was, and I just told them she went on vacation. And so I killed her. I needed the money. I didn't know what else to do. And excited.
And the neighbors, they didn't think anything of her long vacation?
Well, there was those suspicious few, and they come by and ask, you know, where she was and if she was okay. But I threw a curveball and I told them that she went on vacation, and I told her to stay. She moved to California. I told her to stay there forever. That was her paradise, and I just told her, start a life there. And that was enough to throw them off, and didn't ask about her again.
What inspired you to build this hotel, your castle?
Well, I was running out of space in my drugstore, and I knew that the World Fair was coming, so I knew that new tourists would be there and be thousands of people, and women, and it was the perfect spot. I could spy on all of them. I could see everybody. I could see the main street to it. I knew who entered and exited, and so it was a perfect way for me to spy on women and spy on my victim that I was going to attack and kill.
Okay, and why did your interest suddenly shift to women instead of men and women?
After all the grave robins and after I killed men and did all the frauds, which were mostly men, I noticed that I had a great power, and that was persuasion. I could persuade anybody. The banker, the chemist, I persuaded. And so I thought I got sexually aroused. And so I wanted sex, and I decided to switch my victims to women.
Did you expand on your hotel more?
Yes, I did. After I started making money, it wasn't just a hotel and a barbershop anymore. I moved my drugstore over to the first floor. I added a basement, and I added more floors on the top. It was 5 stories tall now. I added more rooms, and honestly, it was like a maze that I only knew. And how I built this was I hired different people. I would hire different companies and people to build different sections. I had furnaces, stretching machines, escape routes, hitting doors, hitting closets, chambers, toxic chambers, fire pits, you name it, I had it. So the reason I hired different people was I didn't want them to get suspicious. So after one person built a couple of rooms or a floor, I'd fire them and get somebody else. Nobody knew what was going on. There's hundreds of rooms at that point.
Who is this?
This is Benjamin Putzel. When I was in Chicago, he was a carpenter, and I exploited him, and I manipulated him, and he was my tool. I used him to help me commit crimes and frauds. And so he was my partner in crime.
Okay. What did you do with Mr. Feitzel?
Well, as you know, I committed frauds, crimes with him. Me and him, we thought of another plan. So he bought life insurance for $10,000, and the plan was I was the beneficiary, so I was going to share the life insurance with him if he ever died. So we faked his death, and we were going to split the money between us and his 5 kids and his wife. But I guess the greed just got the best of me, and I wanted all the money. So while we were at this point, we moved to Philadelphia. I burned him in a pit, and I took all the money, and I had convinced that his wife that her husband was hiding in a different city because he got tipped, and so then from then we were on the run. Me, his wife, and her 5 kids, and we were on the run. We moved city to city, state to state, all over the U.S. and Canada, and eventually I killed the wife, and then I also killed 3 out of 5 kids. I stuffed 3 of them into a trunk, and I gassed them. I killed them, and I took the money.
What was the beginning of your downfall?
I would say the beginning of my downfall was when I moved to Philadelphia and that a scam with Pitezel. But after that, my mother did tell the cops who I was and about my castle. And so the police went and searched my hotel, all the barbershop, and found bones and my full skeleton, my acid room, my fire pits, all my torturing methods, all my prison cells, and that's when the investigation started. That's when I started getting chased, and that's when I knew that things were going wrong, and that I needed to be very careful in what I did and what I said and my appearance. So that's when my downfall began.
What was the worst thing you think you did, Mr. Holmes?
I think the worst thing that I did was when I was in the castle. I had a family of 4 staying in my hotel, and they had 2 daughters, 1 older and 1 younger little girl. And one day, when the older girl was alone, I asked her if she would have sex with me, and she refused. And so I was trying to rape her, and she refused, so I ended up accidentally killing her. And then I put her in acid and skinned her. And then while doing that, I was also cheating with her mother, which the husband didn't know about it, but then the husband left. So as the dad was leaving, I couldn't let him escape because he had proof and evidence, so I had to kill him. And I killed him and I disposed his body in the furnace, so there was no proof. And then I told the wife, that he left, he didn't want her, so I just left. On Christmas Day, I dressed up as Santa Claus, and I had a big leather bag, and I opened it up, and there were the bones of her kids and her husband. I think that was the sickest thing, and then I killed her.
When were you put on trial?
I was put on trial in 1896.
And why were you put on trial?
The children, Pitezel's children, their bodies were found in the trunks, and they led to me, and eventually they found me. And then I wrote a confession stating that I killed 27 people. But the investigators could not confirm it or disprove it because there's so many bones and just different bodies they couldn't put together if they were which were which.
Goodbye, Mr. Henry Howard Holmes. Your death awaits you.
Do you have any last words, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes?
I'm innocent.